Hi, welcome to the Online Jewelry Academy. I'm Professor John Ahr and I'm your instructor. In this video, I'm going to talk to you about unsoldering, or in other words, fixing some of the mistakes that you might have made on a project where you maybe need to reposition an item or remove something altogether. And I'm going to give you the secret to success up front. But first, I just want to tell you that the Online Jewelry Academy needs your support in order to continue to bring you quality jewelry making tutorials. Now, there are several ways you can do this. You could make a one-time contribution through our website at onlinejewelryacademy.com. You could make a monthly contribution through patreon.com. You could sign up for our comprehensive beginner jewelry making course on udemy.com. Or you could simply just watch the YouTube ads in front of our videos from start to finish. But don't be fooled. The amount of money that we receive for you watching those ads is minimal. Okay, now that I got all that out of the way, the secret to success is support your work. Now, you don't want to use devices that could potentially move while you're doing this operation. In other words, don't use a third hand, because a third hand can go any direction at any time if you're trying to manipulate something that it's holding. So what I've done instead is I'm using a honeycomb block and I've equipped it with lengths of 19 gauge blackened annealed steel binding wire. And you'll notice that I looped the tops of the wire so that if I need to pick this up and move it, the wire doesn't fall through. So you don't need to reposition anything. Now, this is a great solution because nothing is going to move. I can tug and pull on this thing and it's going to basically stay in place. But there's a few things that we need to discuss before you actually attempt to do this. Number one, don't involve tools that you never involved in the soldering process to begin with. So don't use your good solder positioning tweezers in this operation. You're probably going to mess them up. Number two, you probably may want to leave some pieces on your work in place. And if that's the case, the way to ensure that they don't move is you can just paint around them and over them with a little bit of yellow ochre, and that way you create like a dirty zone. Remember, solder doesn't like to go where there's dirt. So if I just want to remove this one, but keep this one here, I'm just going to apply yellow ochre around it and maybe even cover over it and in that gap. And then that way I can just safely remove this one. So if you use the yellow ochre, you should be okay. Now, let's look at the piece that's on the block. So I've got two pieces here. This one, I just want to take it off. I want to remove it. I don't really have any preparation to do. I can just heat up the piece and move it. But this one that I want to reposition, there's a little bit of preparation that needs to be done. Number one, you may want to add a little bit of flux to the piece. And you want to add it in the direction where you intend on redirecting it. So in this case, what I want to do is apply the flux in the direction that I intend to move it. So let's just say I want to move it a little bit more towards the center of the piece. Well, I'm just going to apply flux on the surface of that copper piece. And I'm even going to put a little bit in the middle of this thing, just so that everything stays clean and there's no problem. Okay, so let me close up the flux and put on my eye protection and I'll show you how it's done. So I'm going to light the MAP gas torch. We just want to get the piece to a temperature where the solder will flow, and then I can pull this piece right off. And while it's hot, I can just reposition this one. Quick and easy. Remember, one of the things that beginners do that is a big mistake is they linger with the torch. When you see the solder flow, move it and get out. Otherwise, you're just going to melt everything down. Now, this piece should be pickled, cleaned, and brass brushed like you normally would, but before you work any further on your piece, be sure to remove the excess surface solder. And you can do that by scraping it with a triangle scraper and maybe even using sandpaper or some flex shaft tools. I hope you like this tip. There are plenty more like it on onlinejewelryacademy.com. Thanks for watching.